Howdy ho, everyone, and welcome to, I nearly said Wednesday. Am I wishing my life away? Potentially I am. It's Tuesday, of course, the 10th of December, 14 days out from, sorry, make that 15 days out, shall we, from Santa Claus. Oh dear, I am in total disarray, am I not? Just hang on 2 secs whilst I get this ridiculous thing out of my ear, guys. Seems to happen every day, doesn't it? And I do apologise for that. I'm just trying to work out why I cannot. Oh, I can't do that. Silence is what I'm trying to achieve here. Not for you guys, but for me. I've got a feedback in my ear, which is very, very disconcerting. Now I've got a buzz. Can't be. My goodness, what's going on? Everyone else got a buzz? I assume you have. Sorry, guys, I've just got this feedback in my ears, and it's impossible to talk to you whilst it's going on. I'm trying to fix it. Okay, got it. Awesome. Right, sorry about that, folks. Let's go straight to the pound US dollar chart, shall we? Why? Well, because we're trading the pound. Well, we're not trading, we're building a strategy on the pound US dollar from the opening bell. What have we got today? We've got this bar here, this bar here, and this bar here. So it's this bar is the is going to be our range for the day. Our entry will be 10 pips above that bar at 131.64 plus 10, so 131.74. Let's bring that down to 131.74 today. 131.74 is about there somewhere. And when this closes, we'll get an entry for the short because that is obviously the range. It looks like they are piling into the dollar against the pound. Not sure if that's across the board in terms of dollar, but we'll have a look at that in just a tick when we set this trade up. So it'll be 5 pips below this bar. This may be one of those tricky ones where if you don't get in very, very fast, you may not get in at all because this seems to be going very quickly. At the moment, the low of this candle is 131.37.6, so we'll call that 131.37. So the entry would be 131.32. And I stress, those of you who haven't been in the show whilst we're trialing this, we're not trading this. This is merely forward testing the pound US dollar open, London open trade, we're going to call it. Well, we'll come up with a name for it. 131. This is not a unique strategy, guys, by any stretch. There have been people trading this for years, just in various guises. I was one of them way back when, and now we're just trialing it to see if we can make it work. Okay, so there's the close. The low is well, I had a low. There it is, 131.376. We'll call that 131.37. So the entry would be 131.32, which is 2 pips above yesterday. Around about there somewhere. So let's put that in. Let's make it real at 131.32. Okay. And the long entry was 131.74 from memory. Let's go with that. Okay. So there's our trade set. If we're following this, yesterday, what happened? What happened yesterday? There was our 9 o'clock bar right there. Again, there are two ways to trade this. You guys hopefully are monitoring which way you prefer, and monitoring how to manage it, etc., etc. I've given you my ideas. I'll give you my ideas at the end of each week. And the end of last week, I was thinking the best way to trade this would, to manage the trade rather, would be to trail on a 15-minute bar, 2 seller bars, 2 buyer bars, depending on which way you were going. So yesterday's range, if you're trading that bar alone, would have been 10 pips above the high of that bar, 5 pips below the low, and you would have got taken in with the very next bar. Trailing stop 2 15-minute candles. Let's see how that worked out. So 2 15-minute bars. Yesterday, where are we? Yesterday, the 9 o'clock bar. Which one was that? That's 1300. That's 1130. That's 1030. That's 845. So the 9 o'clock bar was there. So the range would have been roughly here. 2 15-minute bars. You would have been stop loss here, then stop loss here, and you would have been taken out there. So you would have been hang on, we weren't even in the trade, were we? Let me go back. Sorry about that. Let me go back to the hourly chart and put that in. Yesterday's entry would have been, what did I say, a couple of pips from where we were. There's the bar. That was actually the range again. That's the day before. Dope. There's the range there. So bottom of that candle would have been 131.425, and the entry would have been at 131. What did I just say? There's the 9 o'clock bar, entry 5 pips under that one at 131.42. 32, sorry. Is that right? 131, no, sorry. 131.42 was the low, so 131.37 would have been the entry on that. So let me put that on there so we can actually track this. There we go. Now we can go to the 15-minute chart and see what happened. Okay, so here's yesterday. You would not have been, well, you wouldn't have been entered long, no. You would have been entered short here, and you, depending on where you're doing your stops, if your stops are above the range, they were up here somewhere. Then you do trailing 2 seller bars. There's 2 seller bars there, so your stop loss would have moved to there. Next 2 seller bars are there. Your stop loss would have moved to there, and you would have been taken out with a loss. Now, well, the thing to note here with these losses is how bad the losses are versus how good the winners are. So yesterday, let's say your risk would have been, there's your entry level, your risk above this range up here somewhere. So 40 odd pips, say, and you would have been taken out with this bar here at that level 20. So half of whatever you risked, you would have lost on that particular trade. Take note of that. If you go back only a few days to last week and got in on this bar, your risk would have been something like 14 pips. Your reward, I think we got out here somewhere from memory, would have been nearly 10 to 1. So, you don't need too many of those versus a half of what you risked to be in the money. Okay, this looks like it might trigger short. That's yesterday's, not today's, mind you. We're on a 15-minute chart. That's the entry today. If we get there, it looks like they're keen to sell the pound against the dollar. That's for sure. So let's move on. We've got that one set. We know where that's going to go. What am I thinking today? All right. Well, not a lot of change, to be fair, and that's primarily because there's not a lot of change in the market at the, or in the pairs that I'm actually monitoring and looking for trades in. And that's a little bit sad for me because I really want to be in the market come this time tomorrow, if you like, and leading into the FOMC statement, the ECB statement, the what's it called, federal election in Great Britain, all of those things that can be just tumultuous to the market in the next 72 hours or so. Now, do note that if you are trading ATW accounts, you need to be out of your pound trades, your FTSE trades. I think there was a couple of others. Let me have a look at that. Where would I see that? Primarily, they'll be the ones anyway. I'm just looking for the message that I got from headquarters. Here we are. Pound crosses and FTSE. Right. Okay. So if you are trading ATW accounts, this is an ATW account that I'm on here, the TTR account. So I won't be placing any pound trades on this account. That's for sure. And if you want to trade them on your own personal accounts, then go hard. But I would suggest that you do that very, very cautiously and don't put much risk on the table because there could be a very, very big that's me, whipsaw event in the next 72 hours or so on all of those particular pound crosses, pound especially, of course, pound US dollar, and the FTSE. So if you're not a pro trader, then I would advise, exactly as the ATW people are saying, to tread very, very wary there, and certainly don't trade those pairs on their accounts. Okay. Aussie yen. Getting back to Aussie yen now. I've had a bit of a look at the Aussie, and I want to share with you this little piece of information. I think I did last week, where we looked at current account. Was it on Tuesday? Let me have a look at that. Yes, current account. Now, the cash rate on the Aussie didn't change. Nobody expected that. The RBA statement was, cut and paste. Nothing really, but some would say less dovish than past. And okay, I'll go along with that. But the key here was not the red news. For me, the key was the orange news, which showed very, very markedly a massive jump in the current account for Australia. But the key here was this graph. And I had a look at this graph and I thought, holy mackerel, what's going on here? This has been negative for the entire 19 years of this century. And now, since 2018, the first quarter financial of 2018, we had a clear trend to the upside, and now positive in current account on the Aussie for the last 2 quarters. That has not happened in 46 years. 46 years since that happened. That's significant then, in my book. And then today we get something like the housing price index. Again, not red news, but orange news. So this is going to go under the radar for a lot of people. 2.4% was the rise in the housing price index. Now, that doesn't seem to be a massive figure. But again, if you go to the graph and have a look at what's happened in the Aussie housing market, house price index, if you like, since 2016, it's just tumbled, right? It's tumbled from the big highs down, bottomed out by the look of it in June of this year, right? And the housing price index for the last 3 months has been rising. Again, there's a trend forming here, and that's massive news for the Aussie economy, because this trend that was seemingly, on a bottomless downward spiral has arrested itself and now coming back into the positive territory. Now, whether that's sustainable or not is another thing, and I guess the next month will be anticipated quite vigorously. But from what I see, the trend has turned around here, and that's very, very good news for the Aussie. So put those two things together, both of them orange news, not red news. I come up with a positive Aussie dollar right now. So that's why I wanted to show you those two things. The rest of the news around the Aussie is lame, and nothing too fancy going on. But those two indicators to me are something quite special. So whilst I've been a bear on the Aussie, I think I'm now turning quite the other way. The problem I've got with Aussie yen at the moment is not just the fact that we've gone into a sideways motion and we are hugging this trend line like no tomorrow, and I don't like it. But we do have a significant lower high here. There's no question about that. But we're also getting higher lows, so that's an issue. And we are in pivot territory. We're between the monthly and weekly pivot and the daily pivot. I expect this is going to oscillate a little bit, and I'm tipping a bullish yen as well. So I don't really want to trade the Aussie yen at the moment. I think there's probably better opportunities around for both currencies, Aussie and yen, and I'm bullish on both of them at the moment. Because on the Aussie side of what I've just showed you, and on the yen side, because I think we're going potentially into a risk-off scenario. I probably should go to the Aussie now and see if we can actually trade that against something. The US dollar, perhaps. US dollar is an entity of its own, of course, and very, very much I am seeing this consolidation pattern as a hold, if you like, on the move that we've seen on the Aussie since, well, when does that go back to? 1, 2, 3, significantly, I suppose, round about Thanksgiving. So everything in the States against the Aussies been bad since Thanksgiving, and the Aussie obviously rallied and went straight to this area here around about 68.50, 68.60 mark. We've since gone into consolidation, as you can see, not very, very uniform, and that's why it's been pretty tricky to trade. There's no real uniformity about this. It's just higgledy-pickledy and unruly, if you like. So we've got high test bars, low test bars all over the place, very, very difficult to predict. And again, we've got lower highs and higher lows to contend with. That, of course, forms a wedge pattern. But I contend that this wedge pattern is a hold on this rally, and what I've just been through with you on the Aussie, I think can kick a goal here. So I'm a bit of a bull on the Aussie at present, but I just can't find a way in until we break support and then get back above it and retest it. That's why that's the way I like to trade, of course. So a little bit tough until that happens. If we do break through here and hit the monthly pivot again, I think I probably said this yesterday because it's firmly in my mind, get back above here, retest it, then that's the signal to go long. But we've been waiting for a long time to do that, I suspect, and we do have the FOMC coming up in about, 36 hours time, something like that. Can I actually find a way in here? And that is my want. I'd really like to be in the market when the FOMC or the Fed does make their statement, etc., etc. So I'm really keen to find that. If it doesn't break short here, then I guess I've got to look at maybe trading a break of resistance and then a retest of that. So break, take out the highs, retest, then look to trade it long. So both of those things are in my mind at the moment on Aussie US dollar, but trading right now is pretty much guesswork because we've had a little crack at the bottom of the range here, or the bottom of the pennant, if you like. Little crack at the top of it, only one. So this could oscillate around the daily pivot again. And whilst we're waiting on these announcements to take place, it is not beyond the realms of possibility, if not probability, that these currencies against the US dollar will in fact go sideways because they're waiting for that announcement to happen, right? So yes, we could find that we break out. That's what I want to see, and that's what I'd like to trade it. As I said, I'd like to be in the market when that announcement's made, but if I'm not, then so be it. I'll wait till it's done. Beginning of the week, I was a bull when I say the beginning of the week, that's yesterday. I was a bull on pound Kiwi. I don't know that it's changed a lot, but gee whiz, it's messy. Really, really messy. This is the 4 hour chart, and I'll try and just make it a little less messy if I can. But since we put in this false break scenario off the bottom of this range, really price has done absolutely nothing. So not FOM, so NFP statement here, doji day or spinning top day, inside bar, call it what you want. Yesterday, shaping up to be pretty much the same today. Again, maybe waiting for the election to take place. I don't know that's the case, to be fair, because there's probably polls to be had yet, and we'll probably see a little bit of movement in the pound pairs, and it'll start to get a whole lot more volatile, I guess, as we get closer to the election. And in particular, if there was something to suggest that Boris Johnson is in danger of not winning, because that's what this is all about, in my opinion. All the rally on the pound and pound pairs has been all about that. So yes, I can see the false break still there. Yes, I'd like to trade above that bar, but too risky trading into the monthly pivots, and really nothing's changed. Absolutely the same as it was this time yesterday, and really nothing to trade here. You know, it's just completely messy. We're getting lower highs and higher lows. This is in breakout territory, of course, the closer it gets to these limits. But very, very tough to trade. You have to be a wizard to get in and out here with decent money based on these charts that I'm looking at. If you're really keen, trade off the trade lines. I think, just trade bounces. I think that's probably the way to go until these announcements come out. And I think that's very much the case for a lot of these pairs. If you hit resistance, look to trade it short. If you hit support, look to trade it long. But don't put too much on the table there, because breakouts can, of course, happen. Okay, let's talk EuroCAD. I do have a couple of orders in the market, neither of which is triggered. This was one I set yesterday, and I decided that I would trade this bar here, because really we've had two false breaks of this rectangle, and we've now come back into the range. We've taken out the monthly pivot, we've taken out the weekly pivot, retested both of them. Horrible bar, really a horrible bar, this bar that we had on Friday. But a lot of that due, of course, to the word I'm looking for is escaping me, but all the hype around NFP, basically. It does just affect the market in its entirety. So this is not immune from that. Look, I just see this as a lower high. I really do. And I love to trade breaks and re-breaks of pivots. So I guess that's the basis of which I'm trading this. I'm definitely looking for a break of that support trade line. It's not the strongest scenario in any stretch, that's a fact. But whilst ever this high is intact, and yesterday was an inside bar, of course, whilst ever that high is intact, I'm happy to keep that short in play. But whilst if that's taken out, then things change, and we'll tackle that if and when the time comes. But really, what we're seeing here is pretty much uniform. We're seeing the market go into its shell, if you like, with inside bars, the name of the game, and the flavour of the week at this point. No real surprise there, as I said, because there's no news early in the week apart from those tiny little things that maybe go unnoticed by some. And we're waiting for those big announcements at the end of the week, or midweek / end towards the end of the week. So no surprise here that we're seeing that sort of thing. But again, whilst ever that high is intact, that lower high is intact, I'll keep that trade or that order in place. Pretty much the same could be said of this Euro Yen that I placed an order on this morning. The problem that I've got here is, where do I put my stop loss? And I've chosen to put my stop loss above the weekly pivot and the monthly pivot. I think that's probably, is that coward's corner? Let's call it coward's corner. But I think it's also a wise place to have them. And it's going to give me a good indication here if that is taken out. if both the pivots and the stop loss are taken out, I'm not in the trade yet, by the way. I've got my order underneath this bar. But if I do, and it's doubtful that I will get in the trade before we hit these pivots, if we are going there, of course. If we fail to get back to here, then I think the bears are really giving a good shot at this, and I may look to change that order, but we'll see. I think if price gets back above here and does take out my stop, then I'll definitely look to change tack here, and then I'll look for a retest of both the this is a trend line and the bottom of the channel, by the way. If I do see that and get a retest here, then I'm a bull for sure. I'll change tack very, very quickly. But whilst ever the pivots are holding us here, and my entry hasn't been triggered, I'm happy to hang on to it. A little bit dangerous trading into that swing, but I don't think that's the key to everything here. I think really that's just consolidation happened after the NFP statement. So I'm not concerned about that as a low, to be fair. We will see. As I said, I'm going to leave that trade in the market, or that order in the market. If you're interested in following, I've got an entry below this bar here at around about 120.07. I'm risking 22 pips. Sorry, I'm not risking 22 pips. I'm risking 37 pips, and my stop loss is about 5 pips above the monthly pivot at what, 120.44 as it lies. I'm going to take TP1, maybe not on a price, but on a visual. If we hit that level, for instance, I'd take it off there, but I'll take it off at that horizontal level here if that happens first. So whatever happens first is where I'll take my first profit. What else am I interested in? Not a whole lot, to be fair. Aussie CAD, because I'm a little bullish on the Aussie, I suppose, but it's in no man's land here in the middle of this range. What can I make of it? Nothing. It really is just in no man's land for me. What I'm looking to do is trade from top to bottom and bottom to top, and what it's given me at the moment is bottom to halfway. If I get a bounce off, or a potential bounce off the monthly pivot here as a higher low, then that's exactly what I'll be looking for. So I'll be looking to trade this long. So Aussie CAD is definitely on my radar. I'm not shirking away from that, but I needed to see that. I definitely needed to see it hit the monthly pivot and give me a higher low here. If I see that, then away we go. I don't see the possibility of a confluence in that area anytime soon. It could happen, well, maybe next week if we're over here, but I've got a funny and sneaking suspicion that we won't be anywhere near here next week, given what lies ahead. Not so much, I suppose, affecting the Aussie versus the CAD, but you'll find that something will make this move with all this news coming up. I've got no doubt about that. But yeah, I want to see the monthly pivot tested, then look for maybe a rejection bar or some sort of confluence on a smaller time frame, and I'd be happy then to trade it. Until then, not so much. Kiwi yen, look, I'm going to leave the pound pairs alone, guys. I know I spoke about pound Kiwi before, but if you are trading ATW accounts, you're not supposed to be trading the pound after midday tomorrow, so I think I'll just let that one lie. What I would like to have a look at is dollar yen. And the reason I'd like to have a look at dollar yen is I like the fact that we've had 1, 2, 3 false breaks of this level here, which is 108.93, pretty much as I've got it. What I'd really like to have seen, and we haven't seen it yet, that's the daily chart, is a retest of the weekly pivot. I think that would have been a great area to trade this short. It's a little bit congested, but as you can see, it has broken the support trade line area or trend line area. Let me zoom in on that. So this trend line here has been broken, and interestingly now what we're seeing is a clear false break of that. There's actually an order to be had long above here, trading back to the weekly pivot. it's an interesting one because I'm quite bearish the pair, yet I see a long setup tantalizingly glaring at me in the face. Ooh, I hadn't noticed that before, which is interesting. 14, 15 pip risk, about a 20, so it's a 1.5 to 1. What have I got in the 30-minute chart here? I've got a mess. Let me get rid of that, clear things up a bit. This does look interesting, I've got to say. Double bottom, high, low. A little bit of a trend line, trade line coming through here. There's going to be one there as well. Don't think I can trade it from here, but what I'd like to see is this. That surely will become a trade line. So I would like to see something of this nature. So price back to here, hit the daily pivot, consolidate a little bit, get back above here, then retest the trend line and all the daily pivot, and then set along there. Let it break and go to the weekly pivot. That's what I can see. That would please me. So if it goes, it goes, and probably the other way to trade that, less inviting, but break, take out the high, come back and retest the trade line and the top of this mini range, I suppose. And then you could probably look to trade it long from there. Again, targeting the weekly pivot. Not the silliest. I'm on board with that. That kind of works for me. So dollar yen, then this is very much a short-term play. It's got nothing to do with my bias. My bias is completely the opposite way. But I do see this, as I said, from the daily chart. I do see this, and that's what I wanted to see before I traded this short. So we're looking for a long to get short, if you like. That's plan A for the day, if it works out. I'm asking price to do a lot, of course, but if it does, why not? Let's get on top of it. Rightio, we have got new candles coming up in just a tick on the 30-minute charts. I'll go through those very, very briefly, but I don't have a whole lot more, guys, for you, unless there are any questions that you want to ask me. I think we'll just have a look at the 30-minute candles once they form and go from there. Oh, actually, Euro Aussie. Yeah, want to have a look at Euro Aussie. Forgot about that. Reason? Well, I'm bearish the Euro and bullish the Aussie. That's why. But again, look where we're standing. Absolutely middle of the range, hugging the pivots like life depended on it. It's like a life raft, isn't it? Very, very tough to trade if you're thinking directional bias here. It's very, very hard. But because I do have a bias, I'll look a little deeper into this and see if I can find something to trade. That doesn't belong here, but we'll use it. We'll use it there. It's been broken once, broken twice, so it doesn't belong there. So it belongs probably there, and it's probably, no, it hasn't got a mate over there. So that's trend line supports. Well, we'll have one from here as well. That's trend line resistance. So let's peg this in and see what we can do. Nothing. Again, we're just in total no man's land here with up, what's that creek? SH12 creek without a paddle. But again, because we have a bias, we'll dig a little bit deeper and go to the 30-minute chart and see what's on offer. We're a bull, right? So we're looking for a bullish trade setup here. We've got trade line coming through there. That has been broken and retested. That might have been an entry. If you trade at that time of the day, I do not. Risky trading into this, the high of the day, something I don't do. But really what I'd like to see now is price take that high out, then pull back to the trade line. And I think that would be a reasonable scenario to take. Alternate to that, let's look at this line. Far better trade this, by the way, if it were to happen. So let's bring price back under here. I'll use the pen. If we could bring price back under here, doesn't look likely with this candle at the moment, and find support in, look at the pivots, man, they're so congested, and then get back above that trade line, the support trade line I'm talking about, not the resistance, but it'll be the same thing really. Then come back and retest the trade line and or one or all three of the pivots. Then that's your signal to go long, and you could go long from there, or you could be a little bit more conservative and go long from there. But if this high hasn't been taken out, and then you'd have to take profit before that high. I'll be looking for that. That looks reasonable to me. I'm happy with that, and this is genuine. Let's trade it long as a breakout trade. Take profit though at resistance. Must do that. Versus the dollar yen, which is a long to get short scenario. Okay, this is a genuine. Let's get out of here, guys. Let's go long. Righto, 30-minute candles. Let's take a look. They are now upon us. Well, the first one, of course, is the one we're looking at, and it is Euro Aussie. Now, I do have a method of trading this bar, but again, I'm not trading straight into the high of the day, so that dismisses that altogether. If it goes, it goes. It goes without me. Dollar yen has put in a little bit of a spinning top at that resistance level. A pullback here would get me interested, but it's exactly the same scenario because we've still got this high of the day that I don't trade into. So until that's taken out and a retest happens, or we get down here and find a false break of the support trade line, there's no trade here. It's just not happening. So no on that one. We weren't talking about Kiwi CAD, none of the pound pairs. Aussie CAD, the 30-minute chart. Again, you know my thoughts here. I want it to go to the monthly pivot and then look for a long. Can we trade it to there? Answer, probably not. We've got a very flat trade line coming across here. If we were to break that and retest it and look to trade it short, we've got a very short distance to the monthly pivot, so we're not going to entertain that. So that's not even on the cards. So we're just going to have to wait for that to happen. Or if you really want to trade a short here, and I don't know that I'm committed to do that, you could trade it as a false break of this area. Not the silliest trade in the world, because you've got the daily pivot here in play as well. So price up to here. Maybe if it hits the weekly pivot, then finds its way back underneath and retests the trade line and the daily pivot confluence. You could trade it short off there, or you could trade it a little bit more conservatively short off there. Then you've got a little bit of room to wriggle here to take profit before the monthly pivot. That makes sense to me. This one does not. So that no, that yes. So Aussie CAD's still in play for that particular scenario, but again, there's no trade at the moment. Euro yen's another, and the 30-minute chart. The further this goes without taking these that stop out, the more I like it. And what I will consider doing is looking at an alternate entry on the smaller time frames. You can see we're still below that, the bottom of that range, which is, for me, an ascending channel, which has been broken, and we're now looking to retest it. That's important, because if we don't break back above it, then that's bearish. If we do break back above it, in particular the monthly pivot, that becomes a bullish, and I think I went through that earlier. So I'm still looking for the signal on this to tell me what's happening next. That's a retest. Can I trade that short at the moment? No, because I don't have any reason to trade it short. There's no trade line here that I can trade off. So the answer is no, but it's interesting that we haven't been able to get back above that at the moment. So what I'd be looking for is maybe a trade line up through here, maybe a trade line through here, without coming back above this line, right? Then coming back below here, retesting it, then I'd look to play it short. Better still, even, I suppose, if we got another, or maybe even a low test bar sitting on that trade line, because there's plenty of room for profit here. Plenty of room to take profit before the low of the day, which is here, right? And the daily pivot, if you like. So this may well be an opportunity to trade short. But if this high goes and we start hitting the pivots, then we'll start looking for trades in that area. But whilst ever this is intact, it's still a potential A, B, C short. Not yet. EuroCAD was another, and only because I've got that daily trade in position. I'm not sure I want to trade outside of that at the moment, which really becomes inside of that, doesn't it, at the end of the day? We need to move that to here. Got a decent old trend line there by the look of it on the bottom. Yeah, not the roughest, not the best, but again, no trades here. We're inside that pennant, and until it either breaks, retests, and away we go, or back underneath, etc., etc. It's the same thing, but I don't see anything here at the moment to trade. Pound Kiwi, no. Aussie, yes, I'm keen on the Aussie. Not so much against the dollar, as I said, and this is a mess. It's just in no man's land, so I don't want to know about it. The euro, I'm bearish, but I don't see an opportunity just now. Maybe there's, yeah, okay. We've had a breakout, so we're looking for one or two things to happen here. Again, if you're trading at that time of day, that was a tradable bar. A decisive break of the trade line, taken out the high of the day, that is definitely tradable. And then you've got another opportunity with the next one when you've got a retest of that trade line. So that is a definite long position. This will be the testing material, of course. And what we look for here is once we hit that level, we look for either a bounce back, or if this is going and really going, then it should go right back up to the trade line, or certainly to the top of the range. Too late to trade that for me right now, that's for sure. But I'd be very, very interested if we now got back underneath that trade line and retested from below the daily pivot and the trade line that's been broken. Would I worry about the monthly pivot? Look, I'd like to take, as always, take profit before the monthly pivot if I'm going short. That's true. But you can notice here that we've had a lot of action on the monthly pivot. We've had breaks, retests, re-breaks, retests, re-breaks, re-breaks, re-breaks. So I'm not that concerned about the monthly pivot. I don't think its power is as strong as it would be if it hadn't been tested. So no, I'm not that concerned about the monthly pivot. Yes, I would like to take profit before it. Finally, Aussie yen, which, as you can see, is again doing pretty much nothing. That, of course, is the 4-hour chart. That's a lower high, almost tradable for me, but there's not enough room to take profit before the trade line, so answer no. But it might be a little bit different on the 30-minute chart. And do I really want to trade it short is the question. I'm bullish both these pairs, or both these currencies, rather. So it does make it difficult to have a bias one against the other. I think I'd probably use this trade line. So yeah, the bias factor is very, very difficult to have. I think probably overall I'd be more a bull, the Aussie, than the yen, because of what I showed you earlier. But I don't see a reason to trade here. You know, again, I trade off trade lines, and until I've got an opportunity to do that, then I won't be doing that. But what I do see here is low test bar, low test bar, low test bar, potential another low test bar. Daily pivot has had interaction, so I'm not that concerned about trading into it. but I need this candle to be a bit bigger than it currently is before I want to trade it. It's only 3.5 pips. I'd want to see it, yeah, at least 9-10 pips before I look to trade it. So I'm not interested in getting involved until this starts to show me something a little bit more substantial, if you like. And it ain't there, guys. Just ain't there at the moment. So plenty of ideas in my head, but no setups at this point. Guys, so I don't see too much point in hanging around too much further. We'll have a look at the pound US dollar breakout trade before we do call it quits. Where is the pound? There it is. Oh, that would have been interesting. Maybe the spreads would have saved you from being taken in there, maybe. This is why we like to forward test, because we actually don't know what's going to happen to this longer term yet. We've seen some good results, but we've actually, I'm very encouraged by it, because what I'm seeing with this 15-minute trading scenario is losses, and I think we've had 3 losses since we've been doing this in now 3 weeks, and maybe more. So 3 losses in that time ain't so bad, but the thing I've noticed by trailing the 15-minute bars is that the losses are, I think the worst ones being half the risk. So that's pretty cool. If you're only going to suffer 3 losses in, 3 weeks is 15 days, and the worst of them is half of the risk you put on the table, and the best of the winners so far is 9.5 to 1 over 3 weeks. That can't hurt you, can't hurt your account. That's pretty cool. So far so good. Long way from being a system though, but we'll keep at it, and hopefully when we do come back after our break, we will look to trade this, guys. We will see, and I hope you guys have been following it and have some ideas around it, how to manage it. Number 1 or number 2, actually, where your stops are going is interesting. That's an interesting question, and I think it depends a lot on what the range is that you're trading. If it's a single candle, if it is the range of the last 3 bars before pound or before UK Open, all those sort of answers need to be, or all those questions need to be answered before we actually turn this into a system. And I really want you guys to work at it, because this is how a system is formed, and this is how you can trade or formulate your own system. It's just simply by noticing something and carrying it forward. Back test it if you want, but this is the real test for me, is what's happening now, what's happening at the present. And if we continue to do this, I'm sure we'll come up with the right answer. But as I said, so far so good. We'll keep at it, guys. Thanks for your company today and yesterday. Ash back on board tomorrow. He's at the airport at the moment. He was trying to get in to a cafe somewhere and have a chat to us, but I don't know how the FTSE's going. Should we have a look at that very, very briefly? He didn't say he'd been in the market at all, but I know he got into this short, but what's happened since then, I've got no idea, and not a hell of a lot, to be fair, in the market. But of course, on his 5-minute charts, he can make that look fairly exciting, and he will be back to tell us all about that tomorrow in the show, and we hope to see you guys then. Thanks again for your company. We will call it quits there, and hopefully you've got some ideas to carry forward with tonight and into tomorrow. Daniel, you are more than welcome, mate, and thank you for being here. We'll catch up with you tomorrow, guys. Bye-bye for now.